think we now have 3 people on the panel. I'd like to invite Judit Polgar, who is very kindly agreed to be the co-director of the London Chess Conference this year. So a round of applause for Judith. Actually, Judith was could have been here earlier, but was in Monaco receiving an award for her illustrious chess playing career. So we're quite grateful that you managed to squeeze us into your busy timetable. Okay, so we're looking at the kind of history of women in chess over time. I wonder if John Saunders, if you would join us, the 4th member of our panel. John is a former editor of British Chess Magazine, Chess Magazine. He is also a very all-round talented guy, and amongst his talents is photography. So you may have noticed John taking photographs, and now he's on the panel, which must be quite rare for a conference. But John is also, he runs a website called BritBase, which is a collection of historical games played in Britain, which involves going through the archives and looking at some of the, you know, kind of materials from the past. So with this view in mind, I wonder, Lilli, perhaps you could sort of start off. We've heard a little bit about, you know, Vera Mensch. Have you got any kind of observations on how chess for women and girls has developed over the years?
Okay. Is it working?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I'm jumping in for someone that couldn't make it because Stefan thought, who would be more qualified than me to talk about a century women's chess? I'm just over a quarter of a century old. The organization I'm volunteering for is turning 50 next year, so who could possibly reflect better on 100 years than I could? So I'm taking a very different angle on this because I didn't play on a very high level myself, so I'm one of the 90% of chess players that play for fun. We play tournaments, we play open, but we're not making a living out of it. We're not playing national championships. We're trying, we never make it to that level. Yeah, so my views on that, and I'm going to give you a view tonight for the people that are not professional players and for the young people mainly. And we did, in my opinion, in the recent years, a lot did happen. So as we can see, there is now even conferences like that that openly talk about this topic, females in chess, because usually we're like a odd rarity left out and maybe looked at bizarrely. But yeah, that's a bit of the perspective I'm going to give tonight.
Okay, thank you. Judith, do you have any kind of observations on how women's chess has improved or changed over, over your time?
Well, I was... is it on?
It's on, yeah.
I
I think once you start speaking, the sound level adjusts.
Okay. Well, I was kind of raised in a very different way. So getting the women titles were never an aim in my family, not for me nor for my sisters. So for me, it was always strange that there are women competitions, even though I played a few times. Twice we won the Olympiad together with my sisters, and also once I played the Under-16 World Girl Championship when I was 10. And I feel very fortunate that I was raised the way I was by my parents, that they really put the expectations to me as if I would be a boy. And of course, when I was a teenager and around that time, I was like always saying that, well, it's very easy, you just have to get rid of the ladies' tournament so girls can create their opportunities and be as good as they can. But now I think there are a lot of things to be talking about this. In some ways, I believe there are great steps forward in women chess. Like I know quite a few girls who has serious training sessions, serious trainers, etc. But still, which makes a huge difference. What are the expectations for themselves and also from the coaches? But for those players, of course, they are not going to quit chess or go for the open section only and be very motivated there. So I think later on we can discuss about I think it's important to distinguish what are the goals and what are the tools to be reaching in the long run and what is the process for that.
Right. Thank you, Judith. I'd now like to maybe put a similar question to John, but perhaps you've got a more of a kind of expertise on the English history side of things.
Yes, well, I have been a competition chess player. I reached a rating of about 2200. I've done all sorts of jobs in chess. Years ago, I was a secretary of a chess club. I was a match captain of my school team, my university team, and various other clubs. So I've done the tough job of recruiting players to play. But then in my 40s, I got fed up with my very conventional IT job. And I thought, I want to do something I enjoy. So I got myself into the chess world in a very devious way by buying a company, British Chess Magazine. But since then, it's been my privilege to observe chess close up. This has involved me in going to tournaments like the Gibraltar and Isle of Man tournaments, and in particular Gibraltar, where they encourage female participation. And actually I want to say one or two things about that. When you watch the Gibraltar tournament, you see lots of strong women players competing with men and usually doing very well. What you might not be aware of is that in the background there are also female arbiters. I can see one in front of me here, from one of my colleagues from Gibraltar, Priscilla Morris. And also in the press and publicity department in Gibraltar. I think we now have more women than men working behind the scenes in Gibraltar. And this has been a revolution in the 21st century in chess. Until about 10 or 15 years ago, we didn't have chess broadcasting at all. And in fact, one of my early jobs in the Isle of Man was to input games. I started very modestly by just sitting there with piles of score sheets inputting games, because we didn't have electronic chess boards in those days. But now I think the chess broadcasting revolution has provided women with more outlets. And now the face of chess, when you watch chess online, you nearly always see a man and a woman together commentating. I think this was pioneered in Gibraltar, and it's now copied all over the world. In fact, for the World Championship last year, I seem to remember we had 2 women commentators for the Carlsen match, and one of them is sitting next to me at the moment. The other one was Anna Rudolph, also from Hungary. So that's just one area where I've been able to see up close a genuine revolution going on in chess. 2 years ago, when I was working in Gibraltar, again, I work in the back room there with the press and publicity team. I was actually the token male in the room. I was the only man in the publicity department. We had photographers. I've learnt, by the way, you probably think a lot of people know me from taking pictures, but most of my photographic development is as a result of working with professional women photographers. We always have a professional photographer in Gibraltar, and they've always been women, because I think actually women identify better with the women players in the tournament. They respond better. I don't get such good results when I take pictures, but I think the professional women photographers do particularly well. Even though I'm in the press room, I'm the oldest person in there and probably the most experienced chess person in there, apart from, I have to say, Tanya Sachdev, who works there now. I'm in fact learning far more from my female colleagues than they learn from me, Because another thing we do in Gibraltar, we bring people from outside chess, people with professional skills, people with business skills, to help with the presentation of chess. And I think you'll agree that in the last few years we've seen an absolute revolution in the presentation of chess. So I think this might be one thing you're not aware of that goes on in the back rooms of chess. And this is definitely the most phenomenal thing that I've seen in my 20 years working in chess.
Okay, thank you very much, John. So we've got sort of different experts on the panel. I think what I'll do, I'll just throw it open to the floor. If somebody would like to ask a question of any member of the panel, or indeed of all the members of the panel, if you want to raise your hands, and who would like to kick things off? It's a lady here at the front, I think from the English Chess Federation. Yeah, ready to go.
Hi, I'm asking this question actually on behalf of my daughter, because she's a big Judit fan, and yesterday on the taxi she's been pestering me. We're also like a family of 3 girls, and they're all playing chess. And then she's been asking me about 20 times that, Miss Judit, do you have children? Do you teach your children chess? And I said, I don't know. And I said, no, you must know. She said, you must know. I said, I really, really don't know. You can ask her yourself. Sorry.
Yeah, actually I have 2 kids. My daughter is 13 and my son is 15 years old. They also started to knew the rules when they were younger, like 4 or 5 years old. They also had classes in school and in kindergarten as well. But now they are not active players, but they are busy with studying.
Okay, that's that. Next question. I saw Liam scratching his ear then. I thought he was about to ask a question. Come on, don't be shy. Here we go. This is a question from April Cronin. April actually opened our conference. April is from Ireland, is a school chess, or was a school head teacher for many years, and also an Irish chess champion.
Well, ladies chess champion, but yeah, okay.
Well,
thanks very much. I'd just like to ask the panel, I mean, this topic has come up over and over again during the weekend, and it's not a very original question, but the issue of girls dropping out of chess after primary school age, why do you think that there's obviously a fall off also in boys, you know, who play up to the end of primary school and then give it up when they go to high school, but the fall off is much greater among girls apparently in most jurisdictions, and I'm just wondering if you could shed any light on that or have any suggestions about how to counteract that.
So we discussed this several times. I think most federations see 2 big drops in girls. So one is at the age of 12 or 13, and then another one around 18, 19. The first drop in most countries correlates with people going to secondary school being a bit more workload. I think it also correlates with girls starting to get a bit like uncomfortable with boys. So I guess if you look into primary school, then gender probably is not such a big thing, but that's an age where I guess like all female groups, at least in the experience of the German Chess Federation, get more and more important, and where they want to have like their own space, at least for some points. So I think this is one of the reasons why we see the drop-off there.
Venus, what's your experience in the Czech Republic in this regard?
You mean in Czech Republic, we usually in schools children play together, boys and girls, and on a competitive level we have got also different categories, girls, and according to the gender and the age, and small children usually they are 50-50% girls and boys, but it's true that around 15 years old they usually girls stop to play, and I have got the same. I see it also in my classroom because I have got 12 children in my classroom, 6 boys, 6 girls, but I think that girls will stop very soon. I don't know why, but it happened.
Well, generally speaking, I think it's always interesting to talk about the points where things are happening, like the dropout for girls, but I think it's much more important to go back with many years, like age of 2, 3, 4. How do the parents, the mother and father, advise to the girls? Because I have one daughter and one son, and I feel very fortunate, not only because they're healthy and they're fun, but also that I see a girl and a boy growing up. And I must say that when they were like up to age 4, 5, I couldn't really say a difference that my daughter was girlish or my son was too much of cars. Actually, it was the other way around in my case with my kids. But I do believe that the parents make a big difference, and by the time they reach their age 10, 12, they have all these things in their brain, the expectations. What is the expectation by the parents, by the coaches, by the teachers, school teachers? They also mature in a way faster than boys, that's very clear. So I would very much like to go back for talking about kids of kindergarten age, how the parents and the society pushes them into that direction, that their interest is different. And I really think that those are the age group kids where you have to make the initial very important step. And those are the things where crucial for parents to understand that we can screw it up pretty much already at such an early age.
I just wanted to say, obviously, I identify as a male. You may have noticed I'm different from the rest of the panel in that sense. But actually, April's presentation in particular, I identified with so many of the things she said about lack of confidence, lack of parental support, because I felt all of those things when I was a player, when I was very young. So it does apply to boys as well. Even the hedgehog position that April showed us earlier in the conference, where the players were playing carefully on the back rank, trying not to avoid conflict with the opposition. That's pretty much how I used to play chess as well. I'll give you a funny story. I'm of an age group where in England we used to have all boys schools and all girls schools. And my school was very good for chess. We had a very good chess club, which the boys ran. We just ran our own club. And we used to play other boys' schools. But once we played a girls' school, only once in my whole career. And I was so shy as a little boy, when I played my first female opponent, I was too shy to ask her name. And in my scorebook, it still has just a question mark. Okay, still.
Okay, so, I can see some hands rising. I just thought I'd better ask quickly about our little dramatic interlude. The issue is women's titles. Does the panel have any view on women's titles? Of course, they've been around for a while. And back in Vera Menschik's day, of course, or Menchikova, she didn't obtain a title. But what's your view on this now?
You mean what I think about existence of the titles for women?
Yes.
I don't have right opinion about this. I don't know exactly. I have my own experience with my daughters that when they play as girls in girls categories and they achieve some good results, many times happen that boys tell them, no, it's just a girls' cup, girls' medal. It's not worth it. So I would be happy if they could play only with boys, and even if they don't achieve, for example, third or second place, it's not bad, because when achieve the girls' first place, and somebody else, maybe only one boy from 20 or 30, tells them, oh, it's not worth, so they are unhappy. And their happiness is destroyed a little bit. So I don't know if women's titles are good or not, but I see that my girls don't like the dividing competitions. They don't like when boys say that girls are not good enough, and it's not the same, the first place for the girl and the first place for the boys.
Yeah, thank you.
And I said it as a mother, not.
I think we already discussed this again, yes, we already discussed this yesterday as well. I know there is a lot of really good females that are not very in favor of these titles. So again, the same as for, like, for example, all-girl tournaments, I think there is the view of the broad field, and then there is the view of the few people that play at a high level. I think for professionals, I see where this comes from, because it belittles the title, and it seems like a female title is something that's not so worthy. But for us, which we work with like young girls, for example, I see that these titles can be an inspiration for the girls, something to aim for. But it also means I have good players I can invite and I can like give as role models to these girls. And then on the other hand, it also gives me a chance if I want to advertise a tournament. Even though these titles mean something to us, they don't mean anything to the broad media really often, right? And these titles are something I can sell. So like, of course, we're never getting the big news channels in, but really often we get like small regional TV coverage. And for these things, for example, it's like a big, big help for me as an organizer of these things to, for example, get sponsors, to, for example, get media coverage, not just in the chess media, but like in the broader media, and to get some attention to this. And I know this happens a bit at the price of our professional players, because they take a role model position they didn't choose to take, right? They didn't want these titles, maybe. But I do think there is some good in these female titles, for sure.
Well, when I started to organize with my foundation events for kids, of course, the arbiters who were working for us, they said, okay, so we're going to have girls' prizes and boys' prizes or separate competitions. I said, no way. I mean, my trademark is that it's an open section. So whenever we organize an event as part of the Global Chess Festival or other events, it's not a question for me whether it's boy or girl competition. We make tournaments up to age 12. And in the other hand, I give out prizes, not top 3, but top 6. And we give out the prizes as there are 6 pieces in the chessboard, so accordingly. And I completely understand your point, and this is something what we have right now, right? So you have to have and grab the opportunities. How can you get the money and the interest and everything? And in the short run, I think it works very well. I'm on the other side, but I think it's obvious that I'm on the other side because the way I grow up. And I do want to inspire girls and parents, because usually it's not the decision of the girls, it's the decision of the society. And going back again to the parents, the role of the parents. And I think that's very true what you said, that it can be very, very sad feeling for the girls when the boys are saying, and of course, whatever they do, I see it in my kids, that how the boys are treating girls, right? So it's in everything. It's only in chess, it is very specifically, they can be rude to the girls, pointing out these things. And actually, it's not the fault of the girls, right? Because these are the circumstances and the opportunities which they have, and the parents decide, or the coaches are inspiring the girls that they should be playing there, and they are able to win cups. So my goal is that starting from the parents, also the coaches have a huge responsibility, because my heart breaks when I see a situation where there is a 6-year-old girl and the coach says that, hey, you're so talented that for sure you're going to win the under-8 championship. And it's like it's somehow similar to me, as you would say for a girl that, oh, you can finish elementary school, and you say for a boy that you're going to finish university. So it's like you don't give the perspective, the same perspective, and it seems to be very small and not significant, but at the end it will be. I usually say an example that it's like you have two cars and it goes for like thousands of kilometers, and with one wheel you make 1 millimeter to the left for the wheel and the other one a little bit to the right. This is, I think, how education works with girls and boys, that in the beginning they are head-to-head. They are more or less the same. They want to be happy, they want to play, they want to succeed. And then later, girls get these very small remarks on their beauty, on their look, on their potentials, on the possible reaching whatever in chess, in sport, in etc. Boys get completely different feedbacks and phrasing their efforts, right? And it's like the car. If you see it for the first 100 meters, they are like going head to head. But eventually, 10,000 kilometers after, you see that one car is in that direction, other one is there. And this is what I feel in education, that this is very dangerous, that day by day, with great intention, positive intention, as parents, as coaches, they do want to support the girls also, but still they are not necessarily realizing how much we put a trap and the borders so short. So, well, that's my view.
John, do you have a view on this?
I don't have a strong view. No, obviously as a chess magazine editor, I've heard lots of views about women's titles. In fact, I've heard views about all titles. Some grandmasters feel that, in particular grandmasters, feel that their own title is almost an anachronism, given that everyone has a rating now, and you have some grandmasters who are rated 2,800 and other grandmasters who might be 2,400. And of course, there's a huge difference between those two levels of chess. As I say, I don't have a strong opinion. I do know that I feel it's still important to incentivize women's chess. I still think we need to do that. We are where we are at the moment. I can see an argument that says possibly women's titles are an anachronism, because we now have enough women players who have the full Grandmaster title, and of course many have the full International Master title. So there's an argument that says it's an anachronism, we don't need them anymore. But I also see that they provide a certain incentive for players at a particular level of the game. I think it's important that women don't. I think it's important that women do play against men, though. I totally agree with Judit about that point. They should not just play in women-only events, that their ambition should really be to play in big open events and take on top grandmasters. Recently, I was in the Isle of Man for the Grand Swiss, which was one of the strongest. It wasn't an open tournament, it was a big Swiss tournament. It was a qualifier for the candidates tournament. Some grandmasters objected to the fact that there were some women wildcards invited to that tournament, but the organisers took the view that this was also their Isle of Man tournament, where they have women and junior players as part of the lineup. 18 women took part in the tournament of 150 players, and if you look at their performance, they actually did better than their rating. If you take an average, they all gained about 5 rating points each, which is something we see every year at Gibraltar, when the women typically rated in the sort of 2,400 bracket play against 2,600 men. They rise to the challenge and do well. So that kind of fits in with and that fits in with Judit's argument, I think, that women should be aiming higher. And I think it's important that though they take part in women's Olympiads and in women's world championships, they must play against men, and it gives them so many opportunities to improve their chess and their rating, of course.
Lilli, do you want to say something else?
Can I give a final thought? So we never choose to have these women titles, they were implemented. And I think a really provocative idea is they're in place, we should use them to our best, we should use them to inspire girls, to get the number of girls up, to get good female players. And once we use them and we achieve that goal, the first thing we should do is to get rid of them.
Right. Well, that was a very I think clear consensus almost from the panel. I see a question from Sarah Hurst. Sarah is one of the speakers as well in the opening session of the conference.
Yes, I was saying that you're my favourite player because you inspired me as making it in a man's world. And my question, and Mensch is the same. And my question's about that. Can you inspire others outside of chess, women outside of chess, women and girls? Have you had any experiences of that, just showing that women can compete against men? And this is an example. Would you have any advice for Greta Thunberg?
Sorry, I don't understand the question clearly.
Can you inspire women and girls outside of chess by showing that you can compete in a man's world? And would you have any advice for Greta Thunberg?
Well, actually, I am a lot of times considered a role model for the outside world of chess. Like also I was in the UN and I'm representing gender equality there. Because in chess it showed exactly that I was very well performing in the male-dominated sport. And yeah, I do get all kind of questions and requests from not only in the chess world but outside, that how I did it, what is the concept, what was the education I get, why, how could I create the ability, what were the challenges, and how I could come over on that. And I think it is something chess demonstrated in my life, that I see it in many different stages of my life, that if my parents wouldn't be supporting me and believing in me, I wouldn't be even thinking to move higher. So it is something goes for everything, not only in chess, but also in any studies or any other sport, that you always have to look for your maximum potentials. And for that, you have to have people around you supporting your goals and achievements you want to get. And for this, I was getting the support. And I do give lectures also about that how you make your decision makings, also in crucial points, like when you lose your self-confidence, for example. It's one of the biggest issues for girls, I think, in chess and outside of chess also, that there are very strong points in life where you have to be tougher as a girl, and you have to find your supporters in that to get over on those critical moments. And I think sometimes it's easier for a boy, because the guys, they say, yeah, you can do it, it's clear. And for girls, sometimes they say, okay, you're good enough like this. And for a girl, you achieved already a lot.
Okay, thank you very much, Judith, for answering that. Kevin O'Connell from FIDE Education.
I've had a lot of experience over the years of junior events. Take, for instance, an under-10 tournament with special prizes for children who are under the age of 9 and under the age of 8 in that section, because the expectation is they can't win that tournament, they're not as good as the older children. Those tournaments also usually have girls' prizes. I can't remember a single tournament that has had boys' prizes. Is there any mileage in introducing boys' prizes alongside girls' prizes in order to try to imply that there is some sort of equality there? Not least, I'm thinking of some junior tournaments that have taken place quite recently in this country, where in 3 age group sections, 2 of them were won by girls, only 1 by a boy.
Okay, panel, anybody like to take that one?
Was it for me?
Well,
Yes, I think there have been some British junior championships have been won by female players. I seem to remember it used to be open to anyone from the Commonwealth a few years ago. And I seem to remember Tanya Sachdev cleaned up a couple of times at those tournaments. And I think there were prizes given to boys who were left in her wake in those tournaments. Also, the British Team League, the 4NCL, I don't know whether it still has it. I think it does. It has a rule whereby there must be at least one player of each sex playing in teams. Now, traditionally, of course, that's meant one female player and 7 male players. But I seem to remember a few years ago, one of the teams decided to reverse this. They recruited 7 very, very strong female grandmasters and had a token male player playing in their team, and they won both their matches.
I would like to say something to this because I think in the current situation, a girls' prize can be something very nice because it's a nice group. If we ever manage to turn this around and we have 80% females and females in chess, I'm more than happy to put a boys' prize out there for the best guy. And I also want to say that there is one gender that's really prevalent in like a sport. It's not something that's specific to chess. So this is something that we see in a lot of sports. And for example, there are special programs for sure in dancing to get more boys involved because they have the opposite problem than us. So I think you cannot per se say you have to have these programs for 2 sides all the time.
Okay.
Hi.
George Silva.
Okay, I have a question for Judit Polgar. Actually, 2 questions. You mentioned your family, how you were raised. I'm a father, I raised 2 kids by myself. How did your parents manage to do that in an environment that probably was not homogeneous in that context? And second question is out of curiosity, do you have any special feeling about mathematics? I'm a mathematician, it's just out of curiosity.
Well, mathematics, I was pretty good in elementary school. Later on, chess took over in every aspect. But there are some fun puzzles in mathematics for sure, and it has a relationship with chess in many ways and logic. Well, of course, my case is very special that both of my parents are teachers, and I think this made the difference from the aspect that how fanatic they could be, not only as a parent, that of course every parent wants the best for their children, but my parents were also exercising and doing their work at the same time. So this made it possible that they had the energy of decades to have the perseverance of raising us in their beliefs that we didn't go to school, we were homeschooled, and also focusing very much on one specific idea, which was the creation in my father's head before he met actually my mother. And of course, I also think a lot about how we were raised and how is it possible, for example, that we were not jealous about each other's result with my sister. And of course, I rethink and going back in time and analyze it as I became a mother myself, that how were the things I was raised and how I'm raising my kids. And actually, one of the other key element was for my parents, I believe that, and of course, good teachers, pedagogues have that, the growth mindset which they were using in our education. Of course, in those years, it was not so clear and focused in such a way, in scientific way, like Carol Dweck is, probably some of you know her, who is talking about how to phrase a kid. And only much later, I was already a parent myself when I read her book, and then I started to think about it, that, well, actually, it's exactly how my parents were raising us, that the key of growth mindset, that you always phrase on the action, what is really happening. And actually, chess is something which is a great modeling tool for that, because from step to step, from move to move, you can specifically give the positive feedback that you made a good move, you made a bad move, but the next move could be better. And I found out much later that this was also one of the key elements of our growth and achievements, I believe. And this is what I'm also using now consciously with my own kids, and I do my thing. So there are a lot of very, very, very small details which we are not necessarily aware of as a parent. And just because to say for a kid that, oh, you're a genius or you're great, it actually doesn't help them so much. Contrary to the fact that when I was winning a game, for example, my father was saying, wow, you won such a good game, and tomorrow you have another one, right? So you have to really be very happy on small results, on small achievements, and I think it's an extremely important message to the kids to give the positive feedback in a way that actually on that specific task, what you did, it was something good, or the next one, it was something bad, but to encourage the kids' mind and this motor inside of them, that they keep their curiosity and they do want to challenge themselves continuously, because it's a great feeling to accomplish something and to get those step-by-step positive feedbacks, because it gives a very special feeling, creating things and being successful.
Thank you. I think Antonio, over here. Oh.
Antonio.
Jose Antonio.
Hi, my name is José Antonio Coleto Calderón. I'm from a school, Francisco de Quevedo, State School in Florida, Madrid. And I would like to ask, so what do you think about the role of the teachers in the schools? And how could we involve the students into the practice of chess? Thank you.
So you're asking what do you think of the role of teachers in schools?
Yes.
And what was the second part?
So how could we involve the students into the practice of chess? What else can we do?
How to involve the pupils into
the
playing
pupils.
chess in the schools?
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Well, maybe the teacher should start first.
Well, I'm a teacher, so I think that the role of the teachers in educational chess is absolutely priority, and it's only the one way how to get along with the lack of trainers, because very often some chess players want to train children in schools, and they make deals with the headmasters of the schools and start to train, but there isn't enough of them. So it's the way how to increase the number of children who play chess. The only way is to persuade teachers to start to teach chess. And for example, in Czech Republic, in our CIS project last year, we developed an online course for teaching chess, and teachers can approximately in a few days can go through the course. They can get some basic knowledge about chess, and they can also get some knowledge how to teach the chess. They can see some videos with a presentation by good grandmasters in Czech Republic, and then they can get a certificate and to start to learn chess. Yes, of course, they can get this certificate live, but for many of them, it's easy to do the course at home and to start learn chess. And then they can also be in contact with some trainers in the regions and to discuss with them some methodology, and they can get help. But I think that teachers are good trainers how to teach chess. Yes, of course, we don't accept that children will be grandmasters, but we only want them to teach to learn chess. Like everybody can ride a bike, but not all the children are like Sagan or and everybody can play chess. And our goal is not to have hundreds of grandmasters. Teachers can do the job.
Thank you, Venus. Stefan Loeffler, do you have a question?
Yes, indeed. World Chess Federation was founded 95 years ago, and one of the first things they did was establish the Women's World Championship in 1927. Since then, they have grown and grown and grown the number of separate gender-segregated events, you can say, or at least female, and they only opened the male events later to women. Anyway, so now we have tournaments under 8, under any age group, team championships. There are leagues in the countries. So it's the policy of the World Chess Federation, and it's also the policy of many chess federations these days to have as many separate events as possible. And I wonder what you on the podium think about this policy.
Judith looks like reaching for the microphone first.
Yes, these ladies' events and separation, it was all my life one of the straight questions I got all the time. I think it's important to question ourselves, what are the goals at the end? What do the World Chess Federation and generally the people in our sport, whether they agree and they want to have a united tournament category, right? Because if we do, then it's one thing. So let's say, from my perspective, that I do want, and I believe that in the long run it gives a lot for the sport also, that eventually we want to have open section only. But you have to have tools for that. So if today, let's say, we would, or let's say the World Chess Federation would delete simply ladies' competitions, what would be the result? Obviously that we simply would lose all the women players who are competing on the highest level, and the lower we go, the more we lose them, right? So I think there are many tools for the transaction, and probably it's not a half-a-year journey, but probably a decade of journey, or maybe a little bit less. But I think there is a possibility of that while a lot of federations and FIDE and organizations do these great interesting events, because actually they have some interesting chess. We can't say that in Grand Prix or Grandmaster tournaments they don't play the highest lady players. They do play pretty well. And also the smaller events for real amateurs who just want to get familiar. So if they get an opportunity and they get their interest and they get the money and they get the support, it's one thing. It is an option. But I think we have to have other tools and other opportunities who do believe that in the long run we would like to get in open section be playing all the girls as well. So we have to have more and more opportunities and to open up for kids. Of course, you have to give all this vision to spread all over between the parents, give the menu card, right? That what kind of events you want, to talk about the consequences, to talk about the opportunities, to talk about the long-term goals, and discuss it, that what are the pluses and the minuses. And maybe still many of the kids would like to play in the girls' competition. But I think just by the fact that we open up the question and we say, the floor is yours. You can be as good as you want. Challenge yourself, right? Then maybe many of the parents would say, okay, you play in girls' competition, but why don't you play a few times in open competition already when you're 8 or 10 or whatever? Look at the performance you can give on the chessboard, not by the gender questions and separating them. So I believe that this is one of the solutions I see right now, that not to make the ladies angry, not to delete the ladies' competitions, but to make more and more open section, like in Gibraltar, like in Isle of Man. Of course, there is always a question about the prize money, because the guys are complaining about that ladies have even more prize money options to win. But that's another story. I think the more we have these opportunities for ladies, and especially kids, and we talk about to the teachers, to the coaches. They do have to understand. The chess coaches should understand the pedagogue, the teacher, the psychological effects. Because, of course, all of us wants to go on the easier road. Whether we are a kid, we are adult. So if there is an easier road to success, that you can shorten the road to success. And that's why also coaches, of course, they go with the goal that, oh, you can be under 10 champion because it's a much shorter road. It's a much easier way to accomplish that. And actually just now, not long time ago, a friend of mine sent me a list, and already at the age of 10, I think, or even under 8, there is already more than 200 rating difference between the best boy and the best girl, which is frightening, and it shows to me that really you have to go down to age group of 3, 4, 5, where it makes a difference, your mindset, whether what are your abilities and what are the expectations.
Yeah. We just have time for just one quick... Yeah, okay, maybe we don't have time for one last question, unfortunately. I think that for those who will want to have a word, we'll be here for a few minutes afterwards. So look, I'd like to just thank very much our panelists, Venuse Souralova, Lilli Hahn, Judit Polgar, John Saunders, for their comprehensive answers. Of course, these are very, very big subjects that have been raised. And indeed, throughout the whole of the weekend, there have been fascinating discussions about a whole range of different topics. And I think we must, what would I say, be grateful that you've all come together in such a constructive way to, come up with new ideas, which is what we were trying to do from the outset. So thank you very much, and hope to see you next year.